I am Henry Stokes, and when I saw what was in her carry-on case, I was 37 years old and had been married to Diane for 6 years. If I didn't end things then, I knew I wouldn't make it to 7. I first met Diane Parker when I was 18 and a senior in high school. She was a 16-year-old junior, a new transfer to our school. Diane and her family had just moved into a house down the street from mine. Our friendship began that summer, shortly after her family arrived in July. My mother, ever the unofficial welcome wagon, was the first to greet them. She practically raced over as the moving van was pulling away. Being the kind of woman who loved to help and volunteer others, she promptly signed me up to assist with the heavy lifting. Refusing wasn't an option. In our house, when Mom spoke, even the gods took heed. So, I spent that day assembling beds, shelves, and bookcases, and moving furniture to wherever Diane's mother decided it should go. Diane was the only one home that day. After I finished setting up the beds and hauling furniture, she offered me a glass of lemonade in their kitchen. We sat and talked, and she filled me in on her family and the reasons for their move. There was Diane, her younger brother Johnny, who was 13, and her father William, who had just earned a promotion and a transfer to our town. The rest of their family would be arriving the next day. Diane would be starting her junior year and was young for the grade because her birthday is in October. Johnny would be starting as a freshman for the same reason, except his birthday is in September. Diane and entourage arrived as scheduled the next day. I saw her brother, and her father moving clothes from the SUV to the house. I was again dragooned into helping. Of course, in the process of helping, I talked to Diane. She wanted information on the kids our age and about the school. Diane was a very pretty girl. She was about 5 feet 7 inches and had a beautiful smile. I liked her from the first day. Once school started, Diane was on the outside of the social scene. Our schools, like all that I have ever heard of, had cliques that tended to exclude everyone not meeting their criteria or who were new. So Diane was not in any cliques when I met her. I wasn't either, but I was sort of liked by all of the cliques. I was an AP student, so I was asked to be a tutor for underclassmen. 2 of my charges were Diane and her brother. I asked Diane to go to the homecoming dance with me. She agreed. When I picked her up, she was gorgeous. She had on a beautiful light pink dress, and while it was very modest, it was also sexy. We had a great time. After the dance, I asked if we could date some more. She said, "I would like that. I had a great time, and would like to have more good times." Then when I walked her to her door, she kissed me. We dated all through my senior year, but I never asked for exclusivity. I knew I was going out of town for college. When it came time to prepare for the senior prom, I asked Diane to go with me to the prom. I got a surprise when she turned me down. Tommy Jurgen asked me to go with him, and because you hadn't asked me, I said yes. Then she said, "I'm sorry, you were too late asking." What could I say to that? I said, "Okay, have a good time. I guess I'll see about signing up for summer classes at U of M. It has been nice going out with you. I'm sorry I took so long. I mean, the dance is only a month away." I was hurt. After Diane turned me down for the prom, I did not talk to her again for years. I had a full-ride academic scholarship to the University of Michigan. I was an early enrollee and had an opportunity to start during the summer session. I signed up for the courses and went to Ann Arbor in the middle of June. I moved into the dorm and started classes. I didn't see Diane again for 4 years until I graduated with an MBA in financial planning. I got a job as a broker with a national firm in the office in my hometown. Diane came in one day to open an account with her inheritance from her grandmother. It wasn't huge, but for the times and for her age of 20, it was substantial. I intended to pass her off to someone else in the office. I felt it would not be right for me to handle her money. "Henry, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you. I wondered what happened to you. Your mother and father stopped talking to us about you when I stopped dating you." "That's okay, Diane. Just so you understand that this is not because you decided to go with someone else, but because I would not be comfortable handling your money. I will turn you over to someone else. Why won't you work with me? What happened in high school was a long time ago. I am not comfortable working with you. Exactly why is not important. I just feel that handling money from someone I had or am having a relationship with is not right. I'm sorry. If you chose to go to a different brokerage house, I will give you some recommendations. There are also several people in this office who will do a careful and excellent management of your funds." With that, I called my office manager and handed her off to him. After she left, the manager came back to my office and asked why I would not handle her fund. I explained that I was not comfortable having a business relationship with someone that I had dated. He wasn't buying it. He told me that she was not going to use any of the other brokers and had insisted that I handle her fund. I said, "I'll solve that problem. I will not handle her fund. If you insist, my resignation will be on your desk as soon as I can print it out." I feel that my personal ethics are more important than this job. The manager said okay and left. I printed the resignation and was out the door in 15 minutes. I was at home that afternoon when the phone rang. It was from Diane. She asked, "Why won't you work for me?" When I told the manager that I wanted you, he said he would make it happen. Then 20 minutes later he called me and said you quit when he ordered you to take my account. I quit because my personal ethics will not let me work with you. I won't work with my family, my friends, or enemies. Anyone that I might have feelings that could cloud judgment about some recommendations. As I told you in the office, it has nothing to do with what you did to me in high school. I will not handle your money. End of discussion. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about? No, she said and ended the call. I found a new job at a different brokerage office within commuting distance within a week. Once I was situated in my new job, some of my old accounts came to me to take over their funds. I also decided to start doing my own investing. I received a big bonus after my first quarter in the new office. I used it to start investing in penny stocks. I made sure to inform my new company of what I was doing and got there okay as long as I did not use one of that office's brokers to make the trades. I was also warned not to use any information found on company computers to influence my trades. I seemed to have a good head for picking companies that would move up. I bought a couple of local companies' stock at between $2 and $5 a share, and one flipped in 90 days at $45, and the other shortly after at $56 a share. With that money, I decided to quit working for others and started day trading. I passed off my accounts to brokers I trusted. In 6 months, I had turned my $8,000 bonus into just under $250,000. Before the year was out, I was more than a millionaire. Not bad for a guy who was under 30. My lawyer and tax accountant suggested that I create a trust to put my money in. Then the trust would pay the taxes on the interest, and I would only pay taxes on what I took out of it. With the trust, I bought a house for cash in the country on a nice wooded 5-acre lot and moved in. I put the rest of my money into several small companies, except $100,000 that I figured to live on for the next couple of years. Oh, I almost forgot. I bought a $1,000 seat at a local poker tournament and won a seat at the WSOP main event. I did all right in the main event. I also cashed in 2 other bracelet events. In those 2 weeks, I cashed to the tune of over $650,000. Of course, when I got back home, I saw that I had been written up in the local newspaper. That started calls from long-lost relatives, shady charities, and everyone with a get-rich-quick scheme. I changed my house phone number and had it unlisted. Then I canceled my cell service and went with a different provider. That stopped most of the calls. I no longer needed to day trade and I was getting bored with it, so I started to get serious about my hobby of writing fiction. I didn't know if I was any good, but I was willing to invest a couple of years in trying. I submitted a couple of chapters and an outline to a literary agent, and he took me on as a client. I finished the first book, and after 6 or 7 rejections, my agent got a publisher to take a chance. There was no advance because I demanded all of the copyrights remained mine. It was published and did well. I got a contract and a large advance for 3 more books over the next 5 years. I was sitting in my den watching Poker Night in America on cable when the house phone rang. It was from Diane. First thing I asked is how she got my number. Your mother gave it to me. That figures. I think she liked Diane more than me. We talked for about an hour, and in the end, I somehow agreed to take her to dinner Friday night. The date went well, but I had no intention of a second date. So I took her home, walked her to her door, and declined a cup of coffee. I walked away assuming that that was the last social event with her I would have. Nope. She called several times, and I was finally worn down after a few weeks and agreed to date again. Diane seemed to be upset with me when we went out. Okay, Miss Parker, you are obviously mad at me about something. Do you care to enlighten me about what I did to piss you off? Then I continued. You asked me for this date. I agreed. Do you treat all your dates like dog crap on your shoe? She looked at me and started to say something and then thought better of what it was. She just said, I'm sorry. Can we talk for a while and then you can take me home? Sure, this is your date, your talk. So go ahead. Okay. Why haven't you tried to reconnect with me since you came home from college? Because I thought I had a girlfriend in high school, and she backstabbed me on the most important date night of my senior year. I found out where I stood when I was told I waited too long to ask the girl I was dating for most of the school year, and who I took to the homecoming dance. She thought I was taking too long to ask her to the prom. It was only over a month away when I did ask, and I was told I was too late. I found it funny that I didn't get to go to the dance because she was with the one guy in school who bragged about screwing every one of his dates since junior high. Then I asked, does that answer your question? Yeah, I guess it does. Just so you know, I didn't go to the prom either. I found out the a-hole talked and often lied about his dates. I also found out that you had a lot of friends at school even after you graduated. I was never asked out by anyone my entire senior year. My first date after you graduated was when I got to Western Michigan and was in the second semester of my freshman year. I wasn't even asked to pledge at any of the sororities. Then she added, I have regretted that answer to the prom question for over 8 years now. Don't you have any feelings for what we had? Let's see. Feelings after 8 years. Well, I still have the hurt of the girl I planned to date while I was in college turning me down for the last date of my high school career. I ended with, yeah, I guess I have some feelings, all of them uncomfortably bad for you. I still do not know why I accepted this date from you. Okay, she sighed. I saw the hurt in your eyes that night when I turned you down, and I still feel guilty about that. After tonight, I will not call you again. Please take me home. So, I did. She did not contact me again. I ran into her in the supermarket a few months later. We exchanged pleasantries and I discovered that most of the hurt was gone. I asked if she would let me buy her a cup of coffee. She agreed to meet me after she dropped her groceries off. We loaded our cars, and after I left her to drop my stuff off back home, I picked her up and we went to a little coffee shop near her apartment. After catching up on what was going on in our lives, I started, Diane, I apologize for being such a pain in the butt when I talked to you last time. After thinking it over, I realized that I was acting like a little boy who had his favorite toy broken. It is not something I am proud of. I understand that I hurt you. For that I am sorry. Please let me make it up to you. I would like to start again. Would you like to? I think I would that. A clean slate, and no conditions. I added. I need to see if I can rekindle what I felt for you in school. Well, we dated for about a year and became sexually active after about 6 weeks. I asked her to marry me on Valentine's Day. She said yes. Because of her inheritance, she asked for a prenup. I was going to suggest it, but she beat me to it. The one her lawyer set up protected all of our individual assets, and if we divorced for any reason except adultery, we would split all of the combined marriage assets. We signed. The wedding was great. Diane was a beautiful bride, and everything went off as planned. I had a slight problem at the reception, though. After the bride's and groom's dance and the father's dances, Diane seemed to dance a lot of the dances with just George Martin, one of the male guests. I saw her turn down requests from other men to go back to him. She even turned down 2 requests for me to dance so she could dance with him. I was upset but passed it off for the time being. When we got to the hotel for the night, I went and showered and crawled into bed. Diane knew I was angry and asked what I was mad about. Well, let's see. You refused to dance with your new husband and some of our guests, so I refused to make love with my new wife. I have only been embarrassed this much once before. That time was when a girl I loved told me she would not go to my senior prom with me because I was too late asking her. Ring any bells? Oh my God, I did it again, didn't I? Yes, my loving wife, you did, and many of our guests asked me about it. They noticed it too. I hope you had a good time because you sure ruined it for me. She slept on the couch in the other room of the suite. She tried to apologize the next morning, but I was still mad. For our honeymoon, we had planned to just travel in a rented RV for a couple of weeks. It was a chilly couple of weeks. When the honeymoon was done and we got back to my house, Diane was ever the attentive but subdued wife. Finally, I grabbed the bull by the horns. Let's clear the air here. I know you're sorry. It doesn't stop the hurt. But unless you want an annulment, stop apologizing. What's done is done. There is nothing you can do to change it. Well, that seemed to clear the air. We settled into a fairly normal married life. I continued writing and Diane decided to change jobs. She went to work for a personal management agency as an agent's assistant. The agent was a very nice older guy named Carl Boston. She was his assistant for more than 5 years until he died in a car wreck when he was on vacation. In all of the time she was his assistant, she never had to travel with him to meet clients. When the dust from Carl's death settled, Diane was assigned a new, much younger agent. Alistair Jones was about 35 or 36, and full of himself. I thought he was an arrogant pain in the butt. I took an instant dislike to him, but because I didn't want to hurt Diane's job, I only told her what I thought when we were at home and alone. I was totally unprepared for the outburst Diane came back with. You jealous a-hole. I will do my job and work with who I want to. Alistair is a very professional agent and a very nice man. He has been nothing but complimentary and encouraging to me. I was very surprised by her vehemence. I was also angry. Fine. You remember my words when they come back to bite you in the butt? Then I added, that man is going to cost you your job and your home life if you don't pay very close attention to what he does and says. What do you mean by that? I said all I am going to say. Just remember what I said when you get in trouble. I am going to sleep in the guest room. You think about what I have said. Please don't. I want you next to me. Not tonight. I need to get over your anger, and I did nothing to deserve it. I was just warning you of my impressions. I will be very happy to apologize to you if I'm wrong. I stayed in the guest room for 2 nights. Then I moved back, but it was chilly for a week or 2 after that, and never got back to what it was. Well, here we are to the instant when I saw our marriage end. Alistair decided that he needed her to accompany her on his client visits. At first, it was just during the day, then about 4 months ago they changed to overnight trips. About the 3rd trip planned, Diane had her carry-on bag on the bed as she was getting ready for me to take her to the airport. There on the bed on top of her bag was a thong and a peekaboo bra. I was crushed. I went into my office and wrote a letter to add to her case. Diane, I see by your clothes that you packed that this trip is not just business. I hope your extramarital business is worth it. When you return from this trip, do not come back to this house. It is my house, and you are no longer welcome in it. I will have packed your clothes and boxed your personal stuff and rented a storage shed. I will leave the key with the owner of your agency. I don't know if you're screwing Alistair or some of his clients. It doesn't matter. When you come back from this trip, you are going to have to explain to your agency why you should still keep your job. I warned you when you were assigned to Alistair that he was poison. Now you know I was right. I have loved you since you were 17, and you have managed to hurt me 3 times. First, when you turned me down for my senior prom. The second time was on our wedding day at the wedding reception. Finally, now with bitchware that you would never have warned for me. I will have my lawyer recommend a divorce lawyer and have you served as soon as I can get the papers filed. I will insist on the strict enforcement of the prenup. I hope whoever it is that you are screwing is worth your marriage. I still love you, but this hurt is too much. Henry. I printed it, stuffed it into an envelope, and put it underneath the underwear in her case. I know it is the coward's way out, but I wasn't in the mood for a confrontation. I talked to Diane and begged off taking her to the airport. I ordered her a cab and gave her some money for the cab. That evening, late, I was sitting on the couch with the TV on, not really watching it and nursing a martini. The phone rang, so I answered it. A weeping Diane said, "I'm sorry, you were right, but I was weak. I fell for Alistair's bullshit and planned to sleep with him tonight." When I read the letter, I was devastated. Is there any way I can save our marriage? Sure, there is a way to save our marriage. Get back here in the next 4 hours and heal all of the hurt you caused. I'm on the next plane out and will be home in 2 hours. I saw the letter while on the plane, so I never left the airport. Please believe me, I never have had any kind of sex with anyone since we started dating that time in the supermarket. I have to go. They're calling my flight. Please meet me at the airport. Nope, you screwed it up. Find your own way here. It is my home. It may not be yours anymore. She ended the call. I finished my drink and went to bed. I was sound asleep and did not hear Diane come in the house. She slept in the guest room. The next morning, I woke up and saw her carry on in the kitchen. It was open and the bitchware was on the table in shreds. She did not show up in the kitchen until I had the coffee ready. She started to say something when I held up my hand. Do not say anything. If you think that cutting up the evidence of your cheating or planning to cheat is going to solve our problems, you are one dumb bitch. I continued. You have committed the final hurt. By your own admission, you were prepared to destroy your wedding vows. They were vows, not suggestions. Before you even begin to try to fix this, you need to do 2 things. First, you will tell your boss's boss what was going on. Then you will quit. That is necessary to just start a discussion about staying married. You really are an unthinking stupid bitch. I warned you that a-hole would end up biting you in the butt, and he did. Think hard and answer truthfully. Have you done any intimate touching? That includes caresses, kissing, hugs, or even sexual compliments. She hung her head and said, I'll pack my stuff and be gone this afternoon. I can't stand you like this, and I know I am the reason. You never answered the question, I notice. That's fine, but you need to understand that if you leave today, you can never come back. Never. If you stay, you will sleep in the guest room until I say different. It may be a day, a week, or a decade, but I will not share a bed or even a kiss until I am absolutely sure you will not hurt me again. If you can't live with that, then it's goodbye, and I will have the divorce papers and a check for half of our accounts at your parents' house by the end of next week. I am going out after I finish my coffee. I will be gone all day. You decide. If you're here when I get back, fine. If not, fine. I am done trying to be the only one to work at this relationship. I drank my coffee and left. I came back just before 8 p.m. to her car in the garage in an empty house. On the counter was a note. Henry, I am leaving. I realize that your hurt is profound and that I am the cause. I love you and want to be your wife, but I cannot say I won't hurt you again. To answer your question of intimate touches and gestures between Alistair and I, yes, we had inappropriate touches. They included kisses, hugs, and gentle caresses. There was no sex or touches under clothes, but there would have been. I am going to find a therapist and see if with the help I can understand why I fall under the spell of flatterers. Tommy Jurgen flattered me for more than a month before he asked me to the prom. George Martin said that I deserved better than you. I fell for it. Alistair worked long and hard to get me to agree to accompany him on this trip. It was not a business trip. It was a trip to screw behind your back. In all 3 cases, I was blind to your hurt until it was shoved in my face. I am sorry for the pain. I know my leaving is the ultimate hurt, but I can't face you when I know that this last was the ultimate betrayal. When you meet with the lawyer, show him this letter. I want nothing except what I have already taken. I will sign the papers when I get them. I am sorry, and I am even sorrier that I know being sorry is not enough. I love you, but even that is not enough anymore. I can't hurt you again. I am also going to tell the people at work what Alistair was doing. It may not get him fired, but if they know the truth, it will stop him from doing it again. I am also quitting the agency. Diane. She signed the divorce papers and returned the check for her share of the accounts. She wanted no part of what she was entitled to. Shortly after, Diane left town. The last I heard, she'd relocated to California. Life's a bitch, and then you get rid of her. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.